it's not a sad thing to be told you have a mutated gene. It's a sad thing to find out late.
Curious, adventurous, and inquisitive, Dr. Catherine Mutinda's journey in medicine, pediatrics, and now genetics has been exactly that. From Prague in the Czech Republic to Nairobi, Kenya, to Glasgow, Scotland, her career has been one where she seeks answers to questions that may seem unanswerable.
My name is Catherine Mutinda. I'm a pediatrician and I'm also a geneticist now. I see pediatric children. I'm also the National Secretary to Kenya Pediatric Association. I'm a mother, yes, a wife, a sister, a daughter.
Dr. Mutinda, a firstborn of 3, is a mother of 2, a pediatrician, a geneticist, and the Secretary General of the Kenya Pediatric Association. It is such little pleasures like being able to retreat back home and enjoy guavas straight from the source that reminds us that east or west, home is best. It is such moments that ground Dr. Catherine Mutinda and remind her of her purpose.
It's a puzzle. It's always interesting. Every day is different, and to be more specific, genetic, everything is different. Nothing is the same.
Her path to medicine was a totally different tangent from what her dream was. Dr. Mutinda hoped to be an air hostess, going to different places and enjoying the adventures that come with that.
I never thought I would be a doctor. Those days there was this book called Another Air Hostess. You remember it? I read that book and I thought I was going to be an air hostess, so hospitality. I thought that was it because they was going to different destinations, the adventure and everything. So I thought that was very interesting and I thought I would be an air hostess, to be honest. And then I was very argumentative. You never catch me. I mean, yes, I dropped the egg, but you have to prove that I dropped it. So most of my teachers, especially in high school, tell you that Catherine was going to be a lawyer. So there was hospitality, there was law. But my mom is one of those where you decide what you want to be. You're never propelled in one way or another. So I finished school and biology used to come easy. Physics came easy to me. Chemistry came really easy to me. So I was like, this combination looks like medicine. Let's try that out. So that's how I ended up in medicine.
This would lead her to Prague in the Czech Republic at the heart of Europe as a young adult to pursue her newfound adventure in medicine. This was a very different experience, let alone the harsh weather far away from the warmth of the equator.
I trained in the first faculty of medicine, Charles University, Prague, and a Czech Republic, Kenya government scholarship. That's something a lot of people don't seem to know. Everybody thinks I went to Russia. No, I went to Prague, the heart of Europe. It was a beautiful place. And I think what is different from my training when I came back is that here you sort of have to wait for the teacher to tell you what you're going to do. There you sort of have a contract with the school. You show up, they tell you this year you're supposed to do anatomy, you're supposed to do physiology, you're supposed to do ABC, you sign a contract and you say by the end of the year I should have done achieved this. So how you achieve it is really up to you. So you have to be self-driven, you have to learn, you have to go look for those teachers yourself. And then now, even plan the day you will have your exam. Nobody plans for you that today is physics exam. No, there is a calendar. Throughout the year they can be examining. Just make sure you are not the 6th, because they can only take 6 per sitting. So it was a lot of planning. So coming from an 844 system is also a change in the way I thought of things, and the way I grew up was curiosity, adventure, and here I was free to do what I wanted. Essentially even decide when I want to do my exam.
While she could have made more money working as a doctor in Europe or in the US, she did pass opportunities there to come back home after training.
I realized that's not my life. I can't live like that. I don't need winter. I need the sun, and I don't need to see, I need to see my mother, and I don't need to go for 18-hour flights. before I see my mom. So I went back and did my final state exam, and I did what a lot of people didn't expect. I boarded the first flight home. I didn't have a job here. I was like, I'll figure it out. I wasn't going to stay out there any longer. I didn't want to experience another winter. I didn't want to live from paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of stress. So I wanted to come home, and also I wanted to do what I had seen out there. Like, it's personal. The medicine is personal. I wanted it to be personal for people here also. So of course, and then the adventurous me. I wanted to come and see what was different from there and what was different here. So I came back. I came back in 2006, and as it is mandatory, I had to sit an exam, which I did. And then shortly after that, I was posted to Moyo Teaching and Referral Hospital to do my internship. And that's where I realized I was different, and I had to stop being different. I had to be the same. Here in Kenya, we do not do newborn screening up to date, which is something I really want done for most of these common diseases that we have even here, like sickle cell. Like the other day, we're doing rare diseases Kenya, phenylketonuria. These are things that you can diagnose and make a big difference in life. So I realized that early that it was about the bedside. Yeah, it was about everybody had to get a full hemogram. I remember one patient, I thought they needed an MRI, straight from accident and emergency. And everybody laughed at me. Why are you asking for an MRI? Well, you can do a plain X-ray, then do a CT scan, then come to an MRI. Eventually, the patient ended up with an MRI, but you see the process, which is something that I wasn't used to. So I had to change and understand the processes of this country. So shortly after that, 2007, the post-election violence, and then I was plugged out of Eldoret, and I was back in Nairobi. So I was posted to North Kindango Catholic Hospital. Again, my love of pediatrics. In that Catholic hospital, there wasn't anyone willing to do pediatrics, and I was very willing to do pediatrics. So I was in the pediatric ward there. I would do my rounds in the sun because, that area is very cold, so they have a lot of rickets. So every morning they had to get out because the doctor wouldn't do the round in the ward, would do the round like somewhere we are sitting outside here in the grass. And that made a difference. Everybody was like, yeah, the kids are going home early. And I was like, this is something I want to do. But now I was being told rickets had to do with the way it's cold, and the parents have to keep the children warm. So they had to wear the boshoris and everything. So I was thinking, no, we have to do something. And I think that's when I was plucked out and I was made the district medical officer of health. And then Nyandarua South.
From here, Dr. Mutinda found herself moving from public health to doing her training in pediatrics at the University of Nairobi. Her love for children and bedside medicine that allowed her to develop a personal relationship with her patients had long been simmering.
I was sent to Pumwani, and that's where I mixed the two, the love of public health and the love of individualized care. So we have low-cost, high-impact interventions, breast milk being one of them. So we have the breast milk bank, kangaroo mother care. We have set up those beds. I started some work with Kenya Pediatrics Association, where simple things that make a big difference.
This she learned from a professor in Prague.
The fact that you do not close your options. It's not malaria until proven it's malaria. There you had to give more than one differential diagnosis and actually argue it out. So the lawyer in me, the argumentative part of me, was really taken care of. And then the adventurous part of me, you had to dig. There wasn't one book that you had to read and you knew it all. Every day the teacher would come with something new, a paper that was published yesterday evening in the Lancet, and somehow you're expected to know. So you had to be open-minded. So that actually influenced the way I practice today. And then the other thing is that the one person who really influenced me, Professor Yiri Zeman, had a personal touch with the patients. He was a pediatrician, But for every patient, apart from having the diagnosis, he had their story. They were born like this, then we did this. And when they came into the office, there was always that, how is grandma doing? How is the grandpa doing? There was that story beyond the, this is your results, this is what you're going to do, this is what I expect to do. Have you done this? Have you adhered to that? There was always something more with Yirizeman. And the other thing is that he took care of something very unique. He took care of galactosemia. It's very hard to diagnose galactosemia. Yet he was able to not only do it biochemically, but also do it in the genetic field. So from that moment, with that rotation in pediatrics, I wanted to do something pediatric, but more so I wanted to do something genetic because it was vogue, it was interesting, it was adventurous, it wasn't the same.
Pumwani Maternity Hospital. What she says is the closest to a fetal-maternal hospital in Kenya was a turning point. Many mothers with recurrent pregnancy losses who needed an answer bothered her, and she decided to follow up on her passion to do genetics, but this was not a decision that came easy.
And then I said to myself, no, I want to go over. Here's Pumwani that needs to be steered clear. And I had to make a decision, and I have babies, I have a husband and my little girls. So I actually dilly-dallied with that decision for over a year, actually 2 years. I had an admission, but I didn't take it. I was like, I'll do genetics. And I remember Professor Wera telling me, this genetics you keep on singing about, you either do it or stop singing about it altogether. So I was like, okay, fine. I will do it eventually. So when the happenings happened in Pumwani, I was like, why not? This is an opportunity. I can take off. And my husband was there and he said, go, because you will keep on telling me about this. So go. So I went, and here I am. They call me a geneticist. I feel very happy, very honored. I've given answers to a few patients. I've met mothers from Rare Diseases Kenya, and they're really appreciative. I've met colleagues who really have been waiting. So it's full circle. So I'm a diagnostician, basically. You remember I have the love of public health and the bedside. So genetics sort of marries the two. When it comes to, let's say, in pediatrics, you see that baby everybody says looks funny. He's not quite okay, but we can't really put our finger on it why he's not quite okay. Yeah, so that's the baby you send to me. We analyze and we actually formulate a test for them. And then we give it a name. Once you give it a name, like for example, if we give it a name Down syndrome, then it's very clear this patient needs to be seen by an endocrinologist, a cardiologist, and generally it's going to be an okay child. And maybe some developmental pediatrician will be involved. But apart from that, I've changed their storyline.
Dr. Mutinda hopes to change the narrative of Kenyan children and parents who go through painful experiences just to get a diagnosis.
A lot of people in Kenya are actually leaving this country to go for specialized care because they feel like we don't have enough specialists. My work at KPA is to ensure that we advertise enough positions for those specialized positions and ensure that the public actually knows that these specialists exist in their country. They don't have to go out. So once we actually have specialists in each area, then there will be very little room for you to move. When it comes to genetics, I'm in conversation with the Ministry of Health just to make sure that the diagnostics are available. They are available, but now accessible and affordable. Yes, and affordable. If we talk to NHIF and actually show NHIF that if a mother knows ahead of time that they're going to get a baby with Down syndrome, you can actually plan for the care. And then we do not have to go when they're having cardiac arrest or all those other complications of thyroid storms. We can actually start from the word go. A few weeks ago, we had a parent who had two children with phenylketonuria, which had already damaged the brains of the children. If that was said at the beginning, they would have had a diet control. Those babies would be going to school like anybody else. A lot of us as doctors, we have a hard time having that difficult conversation of telling a mother, you know this child? They have this syndrome. This is the outlook. When I talk to my colleagues, they say, that's so hard to say. Why don't we just postpone it a little bit more, get a psychologist to say it? But when you talk to the mother, they tell you, we are very grateful. Now I don't have to search. Now I know what the answer is. Now I can plan. So it's getting those two people to marry and know that it's okay and it can be done.
That Kenya do not do newborn screening up to now for common diseases like sickle cell is one thing that she hopes she can change.
It's just a blood spot. You see, like for HIV/AIDS, when we have children who are born to seroexposed mothers, sometimes we get a blood spot on a filter paper, and then we send it for checkup, like a PCR checkup. It's exactly the same thing it would take. It would take every baby born in Kenya, put that blood spot on a filter paper, and we do a biochemical exam. That's all. And then the ones who are gotten, even things like sickle cell, can be diagnosed that early. Therefore, we do not have to wait for transfusion, pain management. No, the mother knows from the word go, my baby is a sickler. They need to be hydrated all the time. Then they have full life. If it's phenylketonuria, they would have seen that high phenylalanines in the blood very early in childhood, and then they would say, aha, this baby needs to come in for a genetic test for this. Then we have an answer for them. You understand? But these are things that we have to advocate for. We have to show why it's important. Just like we have to show why vaccines are important, we also have to ask and actually agitate. With a group of mothers, we'll continue agitating, even with women. I remember telling someone, why are you two sending these ladies for genetic testing for their BRCA genes? They're like, why should I? It's too expensive. But if we keep on advocating and saying it's not expensive and it's doable, and once the results are out, because the next question doctors ask, so the genetic results come, so what am I supposed to do? I'm there, I'll answer what you're supposed to do with them. And remember, these patients, it's not a sad thing to be told you have a mutated gene. It's a sad thing to find out late. So when they know early, they can tell their daughter can tell their daughter, and they'll have a full life. They don't have to die of cancer.
In fact, should genetic screening be extended to couples prior to getting any children? I ask.
In the Middle East, they do that, actually. They do that in the Middle East, where they have a lot of thalassemia. You actually get a go-ahead to marry from the government. Yes.
After you do?
Especially in Qatar, you're not going to get married, because they have in their population a lot of recessive gene for thalassemia. So if you're a carrier of a recessive gene and your partner is a carrier of a recessive gene, the chances are 50% that you will get the disease. So they do not allow you to get married in that country.
We're not busy looking for answers to questions that lie encoded in our genes. Dr. Mutinda is a mother, a wife to Maina, a sister and a daughter navigating her way through life.
I'm adventurous. I also like live music, so I went to watch Calabash. Those days Calabash used to rock. And I met Maina with his cousins at Calabash, and he haunted me for like 2 years until I came back to Nairobi. And yeah, 5 years later, he came and proposed to my mom, not to me. And yes, then we got married. Actually, there are a lot of friends of mine who came from Europe to just check whether he's actually a man. Like, there's a dude who's going to marry Catherine, because I'm very playful, very cheeky. You can never quite catch up with me. So, and I don't like people waste my time. So I needed someone who like understood me. If you don't get it, just get out. It takes a village to bring up a child. But you have to have that one strong, consistent power that lines you up. And that's been my mom. Does that answer? So when you talk about motherhood, it's about every time being affirmed that you're doing the right thing and not being given choices, but making the choices and actually providing the answers. I mean, I'm going to be here whether you climb Mount Kenya or not, which I have. Whether you climb the rock or you don't, I'm still going to be here. So it's that reality of knowing she's got my back at all times, and now my husband has got my back. Yeah, so we've like grown together. We're very close. We are more like sisters. If my mom passes by and I pass a few seconds later, there are people who will tell you, weren't you here before? So that, and if you look at my mom's photos as a child and my photos, It's just a photocopier or card somewhere, just nothing changed. And she's been there, like, you know, that firm foundation that's always there.
Just like it takes effort to pick out the best guava, the field of genetics, according to Dr. Catherine Mutinda, is ripe for the next generation of Kenyan doctors to put some effort and venture into it. Dr. Masikorir for KTN News, Doctor's Diary.